On this week's show, we put the new BMW X3 and all-new X1 head-to-head. Before the break, we looked at size, exterior, and interior features. Now we head out on the road. And here we are back in the new X3, and as we mentioned before the break, this new model is larger. But not only larger, they set the wheels wider apart. A wider track gives this vehicle more stability and improved handling. It is a real performer. But if you're somebody that's looking for a pure, smooth, luxury ride, maybe a different SUV or crossover is in your future.
This smaller X1 has a nice balance between comfort and handling, and it soaks up bumps with ease, and it still feels really connected with the driver. Now, I should point out that this X1 does not have the sport package with bigger wheels and a stiffer suspension. The X3 does.
Now, one of the biggest changes with the X3 is the inclusion of an all-new 8-speed, that's right, 8-speed automatic, and it's matched to either the base 3-liter inline 6-cylinder engine or the 3-liter turbocharged engine that we have here in the 3.5i. Now, this not only gives greatly improved fuel efficiency, but makes the vehicle more dynamic to drive.
The X1 also has the 8-speed automatic, but the biggest difference between the X1 and the X3 is the engine. There's no inline 6-cylinder available in the X1. What this vehicle does have is the all-new 2-liter direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder that will be implemented in many new BMWs in the years to come.
The X3 base model is also called a 28i, but it uses a different motor, the tried and true 3-liter inline 6-cylinder with 240 horsepower. That's less power, by the way, than the new X1. The star of the X3 lineup is the 35 turbocharged 3-liter 6-cylinder with 300 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque at just 1,300 RPM. This model is almost a second faster to 100 kilometers an hour than the X1 at 5.8 seconds. Very quick. Now, the reason BMW is going to smaller 4-cylinder turbocharged engine is to meet new fuel efficiency standards that are coming for 2016. But we get a benefit from these engines now.
The X1 with the new 4-cylinder gets a combined city and highway fuel rating of 8.5 liters per 100K, which is a liter better than the X3, which is rated at 9.6 liters in combined city and highway driving.
Both the X1 and X3 come standard with BMW's xDrive all-wheel drive system. The beauty of this system is it sends most of the power to the rear wheels for better driving characteristics, but it can shift torque to any wheel depending on slip and handling requirements. This is a very nice system to have running under both of these crossovers.
What I really like about the X1 is that it's got very smooth shifts on it, but I was really surprised that it has a heavier steering feel than the X3.
Okay, if you're in the market for an X3, do yourself a favor, spend the extra money, get the turbo inline 6-cylinder. The base model, as we refer to, it doesn't have the same power as even the X1. Now, one thing about this vehicle, they've added in all of these gears, 8-speed automatic. This is an aggressive vehicle. When you put the transmission in sport mode and you're cruising along maybe in 4th or 5th gear, and then you put your foot on the brakes, it gears down, it gears down, it gears down. It's got so many gears to go through, and it can be a little bit jerky, and then the brakes are a bit grabby as well. This is a performance-oriented crossover. If you're looking for smooth and luxurious, as I mentioned earlier, maybe another vehicle like the Mercedes GLK would give you that refined ride. This is all about the sport.
Well, Zach, the X1 was a pleasant surprise, especially with that fuel-efficient 4-cylinder. What do you think about the X3?
Okay, a couple of points on the X3. First of all, if you can make the stretch financially to get the turbocharged engine, get it. It will not disappoint. It is quite a monster, actually. The bigger size makes the back seat and the whole vehicle feel much more roomy. And handling, if you're a performance-oriented driver, you are going to be thrilled with the performance this vehicle gives you. Now, back to that point, the only downside for me, and this is something that relates to both the X1 and the X3, if you're going to the dealership to test drive these vehicles, make sure you drive one with the sport package and one without. My sort of history with BMW crossovers is that sport package can make a big difference, so please check that out. Now, what about the X1?
You know what, Zach, the first thing that really stood out for me with the X1 is that very fuel efficient and powerful 4-cylinder engine. I think anybody who drives it, it'll be more than adequate for what they need. It's got an unbelievably smooth ride, especially on the highway. For a smaller vehicle, there's a fair amount of cargo area back there, and you know what? It is a decent size. Now, if you do have kids, though, that being said, it might be a little small. If you have a family, you might want to go into something a little bit bigger like the X3. And on the downside, two things. The steering is just a little too heavy for my liking, and the manual liftgate on the hatch, it's too heavy. It takes a lot of work to actually close it.
I would totally agree with both of those things. And I don't know why they do that. It's just one of those design things that the Germans have decided to do. So I think the X1 is probably better for empty nesters, you know, kids have grown up and left, or people before they have children. What do you think? The X3 is probably better for someone as a family.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, the X3 I absolutely love driving. It's got a little bit more power and a little bit more space. Cargo room for the kids in the back. That'd be my choice if you had a family.
But you know what? If you can only afford the X1, you won't be disappointed.
It was great.
Are you a big BMW fan? See all the latest models on our website at drivingtelevision.com.